I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'm just going to borrow this. Pledge of Allegiance. United States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And is there any change or additions to the agenda tonight?
There is, Corey.
Okay.
I neglected to ensure that we had the student council report on the agenda. I've spoken to Spencer about that, and we'll do that just before the principal's report.
Okay.
So right after action item 9919.
Oh, okay. Yep, all right. Okay, public comment. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Love it. Hi.
Just a quick recap with Glen. Thanks everybody for all your support, board, administration, staff, every single buddy. Oh, thank you. It was a smashing success. The estimated attendance was about 550 over the 4 nights. We had some great ticket sales, obviously, advertisements in the program, and some bake and flour sale proceeds that got us about $6,600, give or take, as far as revenue goes, so we're pretty excited about that. But more than anything, right around 20 kids, and I don't know how many parents, and Rick, of course, we have to thank him especially because he gave up several Saturdays and Sundays to come in and help us with our set program, and it was just a smash. So thank you very much for all of your support and help.
Bill.
Definitely all the buzz at the school.
It was
Yeah, it's all the buzz.
awesome. Awesome. Anybody else?
Just one quick group. I want to thank the director. I want the director to be thanked directly. My former student, I'm so proud of him.
Former student. Okay, our next would, we're going to go forward with the staff and student spotlight. And I just got to put my glasses on here. We're going to start first with a 7th grade math picnic table project.
While we speak, and we're going to just show a video of the process, and then we can talk about any questions you have later. For those who don't know me, I'm Heidi Barber. I've been here a very long time, and I teach these young, fine young ladies and some others in 7th grade honors, plus a lot of other math. But this year, just a little background information. Years ago, we had built some stools and tables and stuff, and then it kind of got the kibosh. And this summer, I was at a conference in school, and we had gone outside in that old courtyard. I don't know if you know what's out there, but there's a courtyard out by the elementary school, and we just went out there to eat because the weather was nice. And Mr. Hoover came out, and he's like, "God, I would love something out here, something like picnic tables or something." And I said, "Yes, I've got the plan for you. I've got this." And he's like, "Would you really?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then how many times did I ask you, like, if he was serious, because I thought he was just teasing me? And so it came to fruition. My 7th grade math students ended up making picnic tables. And so they're going to tell you a little bit about how the project went.
So there's a lot of benefits that came out from making the picnic tables. There's lots of different ways to use the picnic tables, and teachers can bring the kids out there as an award, and it just betters the Laker community. Making the picnic tables was a great hands-on way to teach us math.
So in the process of making the picnic tables, we were all split up into teams of 2 or 3, and there were 4 boys teams and 1 girls team, and the girls team finished first. Just want to point that out. And In the process, we learned a lot of life skills, such as how to work in a group, how to use a tape measure, and a ton of carpeting skills that we can use later in life. And since it was a math class, there was a ton of math behind it. So we had to work with fractions, with a measuring tape. There was so much multiplying to figure out how many tables we wanted, how big we wanted the tables, what kind of wood we wanted, and also to see how much money we saved. So a typical picnic table that we found on Amazon that was similar to ours, multiplied by 5, because we made 5 tables, would be $2,700. It cost us around $750 to make the picnic tables, so we saved around $1,950.
Great job. Great job.
Nice job.
Thank you. These guys were fantastic. In fact, the whole class wanted to come and present because they were so excited about it. But what, 3/4 of our class is in basketball, and they're at Buckley right now. So they were very proud of it. They did a super job. I was a little nervous about being at 7th graders and power tools and all that. No issues. They were fun. They were kind. They were respectful. They did what I asked. And if you get a chance, please go out there. They are sturdy. They are not going anywhere. And they're just really nice. So they did a super job. I'd like to give special thanks to Mr. Hoover and the board, for allowing us to do the project, the board for, whether you knew it or not, paying for the project, and also special thanks to Mr. Flowers, who he came and helped with the saw while, so there were at least 2 adults around the power tools. So thank you very much.
It was a great job.
And next is Spencer with his student council report.
Not on the report. We actually have a special
Oh,
presentation.
oh, nice, okay.
Steph, did you want?
Sorry about that. Sorry, I didn't.
Great.
I would like to make sure everybody recognizes Oogie Boogie with us here this evening. Yes, would you please stand? Ladies and gentlemen, we've wanted to take an opportunity to recognize this young man for his efforts when he was elected by his peers in the spring to lead our student body. I'm pretty sure all in attendance and in these walls were quite confident of Spencer's leadership ability. And I'm here to assure you that our student body in our school is in great hands. Under his leadership, just in the recent weeks or a couple months, homecoming week decorations on a weekend, rallying the troops to come and decorate our school, homecoming week activities, which at our assembly, he opens it with a performance as Oogie Boogie in a costume that he made himself. Incredible. And then he orchestrated a fantastic Halloween assembly. Fast forward the clock, they're in on their time again this weekend under his tutelage to decorate for our upcoming winter holiday break. To the point where a couple of teachers sent an email to the staff this morning saying, wow, on a dreary Monday morning, it sure was nice whoever came in over the weekend and decorated our hallways. So these few examples and many, many other reasons that we are in such great shape here under Mr. Castro's leadership, and we are very thankful for all he does while balancing academics, cross country in the fall, and a job. And a personal life, I'm not sure where. Oh, and managing me as well, I should point out. So we would like to recognize Mr. Castro with a certificate of excellence this evening. So Spencer, thank you for all you do.
Before we go on, are Randy and Jennifer here tonight? Back here? Folks, we want to give you an applause as well. Thank you. We're so grateful. So grateful for the job you're doing raising that great young man. Really, really thankful to you.
Hi, so I'm Stephanie Long. I'm the secondary principal, and I would like to recognize some students of the month. So first, I'd like to recognize an 11th grader. This is our October student of the month. We didn't have an opportunity to share with you in November. So is Jacob Dilzelski here? Jacob, come on up, please. Oh my gosh, sitting right in front of me. And your parents, did you have somebody with you this evening? Come on up, Mom, please. Yeah, come on. I'm going to embarrass you in front of him and everybody. Thank you. Come on. Okay. Well, thank you. So at the high school and the middle school, we recognize one student from the middle school and one student from the high school each month. And Jacob is our high school student of the month for November, as nominated by teachers in the building. And so I'd like to just share with you some of the comments that his teachers have made about Jacob. Jacob is always on point. His work is always done on time, done well. He just takes care of business. He does not seek the spotlight, yet he is a quiet leader in his teamwork, both on and off the court. A true pleasure to have as a student, a top-notch young man, and it would be great to recognize all his hard work. That's from Mrs. Longcar. From Mr. Moorhead, Jacob is enrolled at MTA this year and is diving right in. He has expressed how much he's enjoying meeting motivated students from other districts and that he is proud that Lakers are 1/4 of the students in his MTA program. That's pretty impressive. Go Lakers. Although I don't teach Jacob this year, I enjoy hearing about how he is applying what he has learned at Glen Lake in his new situation. That's from Mr. Moorhead. And from Mr. Scott, Jacob is kind, respectful, and a great example of a Laker. He works diligently on all his studies and makes all efforts to learn the content. So Jacob is the example that we would like our other students to follow at Glen Lake. So thank you, Jacob, for all your hard work. And we have a certificate as well. Is it over there?
It is waiting for a signature.
Okay, so we will get you that certificate. Thank you. Nice job. Thanks, Mom. Absolutely. And Marissa Moss. Come on up, Marissa. Did you bring a mom or dad or parent with you? Come on up, Mom. Thank you. So Marissa is our 8th grade or middle school student of the month for October. And her teachers had some really nice things to say about her too. So congratulations. Marissa is a genuinely good human being. What a great sentence that is. Who consistently exhibits Glen Lake pride. She is hardworking, always kind, helpful, sweet, and supportive of others. I love that she carries herself high in a low-key fashion. It would be easy to overlook this sweet gal, and I think she deserves the recognition. And that's from Mrs. Nadlicki. Marissa quietly does excellent work. She's not afraid to ask clarifying questions and look deeper into topics. She is conscientious, respectful, and kind. Well done, Marissa. And that's from Mrs. Wiesen. Marissa is a wonderful, caring young lady. She takes charge of her learning by doing her work on time and asking questions to clarify when she is unsure. She doesn't settle for being average. She is always pushing to learn more. And that's from Mrs. Longcar. So again, a great example of what we want other middle school students to follow. So thank you for all your hard work. Nice job. And we'll get your certificate as well. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right here? All right. All right, Ashley, yours is from your homeroom teacher, Ms. Needham. Ashley is an exemplary model of a second grade student. She is very diligent during work time, often goes above and beyond the task given, and produces quality work each and every day. She is always eager to help out a friend, work with any partner, include others who are left out. We love that. Ashley enters the classroom every day with a positive attitude and a great big smile. She is willing to tackle any task that is given to her. She is a great girl and with amazing Laker character. Ashley helps make our classroom amazing, and I can say our school as well. Thank you.
Did you want to do Grace next while you're there? Let's do that right now. Yes, while we've got you there.
The best part. All right, so Grace is one of our 6th graders, and Grace, yours comes from your team. All right, so your team nominated you. Grace Noonan has consistently done fabulous work for all her classes. She is focused, polite, and an excellent example of a leader for the elementary school. Regardless of the task, she puts in 100% to produce quality work. Grace works hard to learn from her mistakes so she does not continue to make them. And most importantly, she is a good friend to her peers and always comes in wearing a smile. And we just love you, Grace.
Thank you. Yeah. Good job, everybody. Okay, our next is consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Did I miss something? No. Okay. You sure? Yep, good.
So moved.
Okay. Motion carries. Oh, no, sorry. I gotta start over. We have a second. Any discussion? No? Okay, can I have a vote? Yes? I'm like, aye.
All those in favor?
All of those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries. All right, now we are on to discussion items. First one will be the addition of the course offerings by Stephanie. Did you get no, a little nervous. I know. Just check. If she responds.
Spencer, would it be all right if you gave your student council report at this time while we're waiting? Great, thank you, Spencer.
Hello, is this on? Okay, cool. So right now, as Mr. Mattson mentioned, we are working on our holiday plans for the high school student body. We decorated over the weekend, and we are continuing to decorate this next week as more of our supplies arrive. And yeah, we're just making sure. We normally like to do the last half of the last day before the holiday break. We just do fun activities. Each classroom has a different one that a teacher prefers to host, and it's just a good relaxing way to end the week before everyone heads out for their holiday celebrations. Yeah, that's my report.
Great, thanks, Spencer.
Spencer.
Okay, thank you, Spencer. So I want to just, if you would permit me, to talk a little bit about some courses that we'd like to add to our course guide. The counseling department and staff and I have been working to come up with some solutions for, thank you, coming up with some solutions for keeping students on campus who might otherwise need to leave campus to take dual enrollment courses or some other options because we are not offering enough on our campus for students to be able to stay. So we looked at what have been traditionally the courses that students have been taking at NMC, and we narrowed it down to really 3 major courses. They take English, they take Psych and Soc primarily, and they take a lot of art. So we started to think about, well, there were enough students leaving campus for those classes that we could offer them alternatives here for which they could earn college credit. So then we did some exploring, and we did some research and learned that top-tier colleges actually prefer advanced placement credit to dual enrollment credit. And one of the reasons they do is that it's more standardized. So if a student takes a class at, for example, NMC, maybe it's called English 111, that's not the same course at LCC or Mott Community College or other community colleges across the state. Every community college offers their own introductory English class, but they're not standardized. They're essentially, the variability is huge depending on who's teaching that course. So when a college, a four-year institution, looks at a transfer credit to bring credits in, community college credits are less reliable than advanced placement credits because advanced placement is a nationally standardized curriculum. Every student in the nation who takes, for example, AP Literature, takes exactly the same exam. And a 3 for a student in Michigan means the same thing as a 3 for a student in Tennessee, the same for a student who earned a 3 in California. So colleges are actually more attracted to advanced placement. And so then we looked at our AP offerings and realized that we're pretty thin because the majority of the kids who would take our AP classes are going off campus. So I want to just talk a little bit about some of the proposals for AP. Maybe not. So again, we want to offer a more diverse menu of course offerings. We did a survey, and I'll show you the results of that in a minute for students. We want to offer courses that allow for college credit opportunities, and we want to attract students back to campus with competitive, high quality, and relevant opportunities. So the benefits of keeping kids on our campus, number one is the benefits of adding these courses is we have a greater student selection. We can provide more advanced placement opportunities. AP on their college transcripts is more appealing. The interesting thing at this bullet is that credit equivalencies are often higher than dual enrolled transfer credits. So we looked at the colleges in Michigan, primarily Michigan, Michigan State, Central, Western, Grand Valley, and Ferris. And they each publish a credit equivalency chart that says if you earned, for example, a 3 on this advanced placement class test, how many credits would transfer into to the university. Many of them transfer in more than 3. So for example, if you earn a 4 or a 5 on the AP Lang exam, you actually get 4 credits waived for you at Michigan State. Had a student gone to NMC and earned their English credit, they're only getting in 3, and that's if Michigan State transfers it in as an English class. Often what happens with dual enrolled classes is they don't transfer in one-to-one, course to course. They transfer in as general credits. So a student might have to actually take that English class all over again and just not have to take a different elective. So with AP credits, when the AP credit transfers in, it transfers into the department in which the student earned the class or earned the credit. So it also allows for us to have a student-driven schedule, something that we really want to be able to do, which is if we get a critical mass of students signing up for a course, we want to be able to offer the course. And what's happening now is we're typically only offering courses based on the teachers that we have on staff. So we want to be a little bit more flexible in how we use our staff and what courses they teach, and we want that to be based on what students are looking for as opposed to maybe what's already been done. It allows us to recapture a tremendous amount of money. It's extremely expensive to pay for all these dual enrolled credits that may or may not be transferring and that may or may not be what students need when they get to college. It also diversifies our student population in our existing courses. We recapture students who are leaving, we get them back into our classes, and then those classes become really a different learning environment. It also, if we add some AP classes, it allows for nationally recognized professional learning opportunities for our staff. The AP training is incredible, and anyone who's gone through it can attest to how valuable and purposeful it is for the staff. There's also an opportunity for our AP teachers to become advanced placement or college board scorers, which is kind of a big deal. They would spend a week in one of 4 cities across the country in June, actually being trained in how to score the exams, and then they bring that wisdom back to the school and they can help train our students in how to be more successful on those exams. I was an AP scorer for 6 years. It was some of the best professional development that I ever had. It also helps us build a school community that is cohesive, supportive, and inclusive, and that honors our students' goals and interests. When we can offer the courses that students need and or want, I think we're being more responsive to them. And it helps us get our kids back from other districts. So when we think about the students who live in the Glen Lake area who are choosing other schools, primarily, whether it's Leland or TC West or St. Francis, many of those are our top tier students, and they're going for the vast array of opportunities and choices that they have at those other schools. So based on the courses that students are currently enrolled in, we're proposing adding advanced placement statistics, which is a nice math foil to AP Calc. AP Psychology, which includes a section in sociology, and AP English Literature. AP English Lit is already in our course guide, we're just not currently offering it. So we don't really, that one's already there, we just want to put it back in the rotation. We're also asking to add something called Art History 1 and Art History 2. When we looked at the choices that kids were choosing from NMC, there was a ton of art, and it was around primarily art history and art appreciation. So those courses we would offer as semester choices. They'd be offered in a primarily online format for students with flexible time in the building to be into the art rooms when they needed to create projects. So it's a mixed blended delivery model. It's not exclusively online. They would have a point of contact here in our building, one of our own staff members, and they'd have the availability of our art facilities to help them with their coursework. And then we also had some music opportunities that kids said they wanted that are currently in our course guide that we're not currently offering. So we put out a survey to our 10th and 11th graders. We got 120 responses, which is, we had to have some seniors and some others in there as well. That's a huge number of students responding to this survey. And these are the courses that they said they wanted to take. And if you see, you've got 13 kids who want guitar, which is wonderful because when you go down to our music room, we have an entire room filled with guitars. We don't even need to buy them. They're already all there. Pep and marching band, select choir. Look at the theater and art choices, the fine art selections that kids were looking for. Theater production, sound and light production, theater performance. And then this is where we get into the big numbers. AP Stats, AP Lit, and AP Psych. AP Psych with 28 students saying they would sign up for AP Psychology if we offered it on this campus. That's amazing. That's a huge number of kids. And presumably, there's overlap, right? Presumably, somebody who said they wanted AP Psych might also want guitar. So we didn't isolate for one student per course. This is another option we've explored. It's called AP Capstone/Research. There's something called the AP Capstone Diploma that a student can earn. And it's an independently driven program where students take a seminar in the first year, and then they do major research in their second year, and then they can earn that AP Capstone Diploma designation. So we've signed up, we've applied to be an AP Capstone school. The application doesn't commit us to offering the program, it just gets us in the pool. AP Bio, AP Chem, 30 students said they would sign up for AP Chemistry if we offered it here, which is pretty amazing. AP Spanish, Art Studio, and Art Appreciation. So that's where the art stuff came in, why we were recommending those two courses being offered. This AP Spanish selection right here, we currently offer up through Spanish 4. So with the ability for students to earn Spanish 1 in the middle school, they realistically could take AP Spanish. And then after Art Appreciation, these numbers dropped down to a whole list of courses where there were 1 or 2 students selecting them. But these were the courses that the majority of the students who took the survey said they would like to sign up for. So our proposal is to add AP Psychology, AP Stats, and these art offerings to our course guide. Those are the ones that are currently not in there that we'd like to put into a rotation for students to choose from. We'd like to also offer any classes that are already in our course guide based on student request, which may entail us hiring somebody to do some of that instruction. Hire staff where certification necessitates to teach those courses requested. So that, for example, AP Psychology, I don't have anyone right now on our staff who has certification other than Matt Pichelle, and he's telling me he doesn't want to come out of the counseling department right now. I've actually thought about it. I'm certified to teach AP Psych. How great would that be? Oh my God. But it would be really fun to, once we get this schedule built, we'll know exactly what we need in terms of teachers to fill it in. And then we want to support staff in becoming AP certified, which means, for example, one of our teachers has already agreed to teach AP statistics, and she's excited about it, as was another teacher excited about offering AP literature and composition. Both of them would need to go to training over the summer. One has already been trained, one has not. So the one who's already gone to training would go to a one-day workshop. The one who has not yet been trained would go to a week-long intensive workshop. That's it. Sorry, that was my last slide. Okay, so that's our proposal, please. We're asking to be able to add those courses to our course guide. We also have a committee that has been working on updating our course guide, and right now we're down to the 2 counselors and myself are putting together a revised course guide. There's some stuff in there that's been outdated. Teachers have been updating their course descriptions, and we'd like to flesh that out and finalize it ideally before the beginning of the year so we can start student registration. And we also brought in a specialist in Power School scheduling to help us build a schedule that would accommodate a small school. So small schools actually, while there are tons of benefits, one of the drawbacks is it's really difficult to schedule when you only offer one section of each class. So we got an expert set of eyes on that to try to help us imagine what that schedule could look like to be able to provide the opportunities we want to provide. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions before I? Yes, hi Jenna.
Is physics, as the upper level physics coming back into the course guide? You know, when they, I don't know whether it's still the case, but when they made the physics 1 kind of a split with chemistry, Shannon no longer had time to teach an upper level physics class as well.
Yep, we will offer, if we get a critical mass, we're shooting for 10 students right now. If we had 10 students who wanted to take either advanced physics or an AP physics, we would offer it. And then we'll have to work with, so for example, you saw we had AP chemistry and AP bio. Well, at some point, we might need another teacher to be certified in some of those areas.
When we went to a 6-period day, that's where classes like that were lost because you couldn't fit the required courses that Shannon and Karen needed to teach in a 6-period day.
Yeah.
Even offering Karen to teach without a prep, which you did.
Right, an overload, yeah.
When we had AP Stat, which was just probably 5 years ago, the students did better in that in many cases than they had similar success with Calc. It was a nice offering. We lost it when the teacher left. But
well, it's interesting that we've looked at some recent legislation, and there had been an understanding, I think, that students had to take both chem and physics, and they don't. They get to choose either one. So we'll offer whichever or both they sign up for, or bio. You know, the interesting thing is, in the sciences, environmental, AP bio for environmental, or excuse me, AP environmental science is a popular choice. But if we add bio and chem and physics, right, chances are we're not going to get a critical mass in all 4. So we're going to have to offer whichever ones the students are interested in. And the students next year might be interested in something different than the students the following year. So our goal would be to have enough teachers with AP training that we could offer whichever or both of those classes that they'd be interested in. There's also the idea that we could put them on a rotation and offer 2 to juniors and 2 different ones to seniors so that that group of kids could have all 4. So there are some creative ways of scheduling to get them in there, but maybe not all at the same time. So for currently we offer AP US History, and the next year we offer AP Government. So the same students can get both of those advanced placement opportunities. So we can be creative about how we do that. But yeah, we want to offer what kids are interested in taking. Hi.
For the art history and appreciation classes, are those college credit earning classes?
Those would not be college credit earning classes unless, this is me working an angle, trying to get our teacher adjunct certified for either NMC or for Ferris or for Grand Valley. And if we can get her adjunct status, we can offer them as concurrent enrollments. We're working on that.
I have a couple more questions. Have we, especially I think this is pretty common with AP Spanish, letting kids take it on their, like just take tests on their own? Is that something that you guys have thought about or explored, or the teacher, does he have any idea of how his kids might do on it?
I don't know the answer to the second part of the question. I can certainly find out, but it's my understanding that, and it has been forever, any student who wants to take an advanced placement exam can sit for the exam whether they sit in the classroom or not. So if we had students who, for example, had finished through level 4 and wanted to do it, they could certainly do it on their own. And we do offer, I think we have just a small number of students who take a language in an online format because we don't offer the next level or the language that they're interested in.
Would we cover the cost of AP tests?
Currently, we cover it for all students. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We had 2 German native students who took German, for instance. They took the AP test and did well. When we offered AP Spanish, it was the 4th year, and it was rare to have a student pass the test, almost never, who had not studied abroad and had that experience. You're envisioning Spanish, AP Spanish as a 5th year.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So they would start their first year of Spanish in the middle school, go through then go to 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, and then do AP that 5th year. Yeah. The numbers for the foreign languages are low across the board. I think Spanish has one of the highest pass rates in the state and across the nation. When you get into Italian and Chinese and Latin, the scores plummet. French is probably right up on there with Spanish, but they're difficult exams because the students have to do the written portion and a speaking portion and a listening portion.
Can you speak a little bit more to the work that you did with the scheduling consultant? I think I started to just hear maybe some of the ideas that came out of that by offering like junior and senior sort of like
rotations. Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious like how that went and like what you gleaned from.
Yeah, it was really exciting. One of the things that we learned though is that our schedulers do an amazing job given the constraints that we have, which is small numbers of kids and singletons. So we started to try to change some of the constraints but in the beginning of the year by aligning the middle school and the high school schedule. The next step really is to, one of the constraints that we have is shared teachers. When we have a teacher at the high school teaching in the elementary or in the middle, that throws a big fat monkey wrench in everything. So trying to create schedules for the teachers that allow them to be in one of those levels will help us considerably. The biggest shift, though, is moving from a schedule that we build around the certifications of the teachers on staff versus a schedule that's driven by student choice. A schedule that's driven by student choice means we offer the classes that kids sign up for, and then we figure out how to get the right person in on the bus to teach those classes. And that's going to be a challenge for us in the spring, but we're super excited about that. One of the other challenges that we have in the middle school specifically is because of those singletons, for example, one section of Spanish 1, if a student wants Spanish 1, it dictates the whole rest of their day because we only offer each of those other 4 core things one at a time. So if I'm in Spanish 1, then that means I have to take English this hour, which means I have to take science this hour. So we're trying to get away from block scheduling those kids where they're with each other all day long. That's a big goal of ours as well.
And then it seems like at some point we might be able to recruit students, right, from other schools, the same way that our students have sometimes gone to other schools.
Right. Our goal would be at least in my brain, my goal is to get back the kids who belong in Glen Lake.
But even just to allow a student to come for like the afternoon or to sort of come to Glen Lake for AP Psych.
Sure. Yeah, the AP Psych is one of those great classes that almost anybody who's offering AP starts typically with that one for several reasons. It's a really nice entry-level AP class. You can offer it to as young as really 9th and 10th graders because it's essentially a content-driven class with lots of fun activities and demonstrations, and the success rate on that exam is relatively high. So that's a great starter AP class. Another great starter AP class is Advanced Placement Computer Science Principles, which is a new exam. We're not offering it here currently, but if we can move our robotics back into a class as opposed to a club, that would be a really nice place to put that curriculum as well. So we have some short-term goals and then some, what would it look like in 3 years, what could it look like in 5 years?
I was just curious what it looks like to have our staff go, what does the schooling or the training look like? Is it a week process or is it a summer class?
For advanced placement?
Yes.
Yes. So if you're a new AP teacher to a content area, you go for a full week in a summer intensive workshop. And when I say intensive, it's 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 straight days, where you learn the entirety of the curriculum, the way that the test is designed. You go through the scoring process on a small scale. You actually take the advanced placement exam that you're going to be giving to your students. So it's pretty intense because they want teachers to walk out of there knowing inside and out what that advanced placement curriculum looks like, what their pacing needs to be in order to get kids through the materials in time for the exam, and what appropriate exam prep looks like. So those are week-long intensive workshops for first-time AP teachers. And then teachers that have been doing it, the recommendation is really about once every 3 years, you go to the one-day workshop to get the refresher. Anytime the exam changes, though, it's important for the teacher to go back to the workshop, because when they change the exam, it changes significantly. And so you want to get a sense for what all those changes are. AP Government changed last year. They're on a rotation in terms of when they update those. And then the other great thing for our staff is that every one of the advanced placement content areas has a comprehensive listserv, often that are inclusive of teachers from across the country. So when they get in the listserv, they're getting updates and information and sharing ideas with teachers from all over the U.S. who are also teaching that content area.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi.
Critical mass, you mentioned 10. Does that mean 10 is a number that you're shooting for, or is it kind of a fuzzy number?
It's a fuzzy concrete number. It's very difficult to teach those courses with fewer than 10 kids. There's also, in my mind, and teachers are going to hate me when I say this out loud, I think you can fill an AP class with as many as 50 kids. AP is a different animal to teach than a content area that doesn't have the curriculum as laid out, as sequenced, and you have a population of students who are inherently motivated to be there. It's just a different animal. But 10 at the minimum for the kind of discussion and work that you want students to engage in or around. I think in our school, if we could get, I think we have some sections right now that are at 27 or 28. That's a big section for us. I think anything between 10 and 20 would be a great number.
Even with the hybrid classes where you do a bunch online, you do a bunch in the seated class, couldn't you end up with lower numbers then?
We wouldn't have our advanced placement students in a blended experience. If
They could take the test without ever going to class.
Yep, those students would just be doing it on their own. They would literally have nothing to do with us. They would just be saying, I'm going to go sit for that exam. Some kids sit for those exams and never actually do the coursework. They just think, I'm smart enough, I want to sit for the test. I don't know here how that works, but I know in other schools, some kids are just that smart and they sit and take whatever tests they want to take, and then they get the scores and they transfer. The AP doesn't have any requirements regarding seat time. It's just if you can pass the test, you get the credit. Sure. Anything else? Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
We are on action items.
Dean of Students, 6.2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not see. I need to put those glasses back on.
It looks like we're the Dean of Students.
We've got the Dean of Students.
Yeah, Dean of Students.
Whichever one of you would like to go.
Yeah.
We'd like, actually both of you, because your job descriptions are so different and the responsibilities, why don't we give Steph a rest, and after that great presentation, and Trina, you're up first. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So do I have to stay back here? Usually I like to walk amongst you and everything. So I do what I want. You'll follow me. Thank you. So in looking at an elementary dean of students, I'm looking at someone who can support me, really, but actually what we're looking at is someone else that we can add to our staff who can support students in another way. We have added, that I'll talk about in my principal report, 2 of the most fantastic counselors that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. And the work that they are doing has just added exponentially to what we can do for kids. And now we need just this one little extra component that I feel that will give students another adult in their life who is a good role model for them, someone, another trusting adult, someone that can help conflict mediation, take care of some of the issues that could free me up to do more of the instructional coaching, instructional leadership that I enjoy. So does the board have the job description that okay. So basically, we want someone who can help us move forward with the warm, welcoming, wanted, and wonderful environment that we believe in at Glen Lake. And so that's the preamble there. So this person would have a variety of duties. They would be responsible for our positive behavior intervention supports. And so what that is we first want to recognize, be able to take the time to recognize students for the positive behaviors that they're doing. That's the most important. We have so many students. I don't even want to say vast majority, because that's, over 50%. Our students are great kids, and everybody makes a mistake. We know that. Everybody makes a bad decision, but we need to take the time to recognize that they're all making great decisions as well. And sometimes those kiddos need a little extra somebody to help recognize that great decision. So like in a PBIS support system, that could look like the student who needs a safe adult that will check in with them in the morning and say, all right, how did you have breakfast? How are you feeling today? Did you sleep okay last night? What are our goals for today? Maybe we have 2 goals today. Maybe it's to stay on task and keep our hands to ourselves. And so we're going to set these goals, and then as the day goes on, they can check in with them, and then at the end of the day, did you meet your goals? How did it go? Did you have a good day today? Did you keep your hands to yourself? You did great. Let's recognize that, and that might involve some extrinsic motivation. So in my last school, what we did, we called them pause bucks, but they could earn incentives that they could cash in for at the end of the week. Sometimes it was just little trinkets. Sometimes it might have been a piece of candy, but they could spend their pause bucks. So it was an extrinsic motivation, but it in turn then turned into intrinsic, because they just love that feeling of, I met my goal today. And so this would help free up, it'd be somebody who is constantly available for them in the morning. That's their task. So that's what the PBIS part is. Restorative practices, you've heard me talk about the book study that we're doing, Hacking School Discipline. So we really are still doing a lot of research into what does it look like to do restorative practices. This person would be part of that research that we're doing, that learning that we're doing, and also in teaching the rest of us what they're learning, and then implementing that with our students. So, so restorative practices will become part of the elementary curriculum. Spearheading our school's kindness and positivity initiatives. So we're working really hard right now on recognizing the positive choices students are making, the kindness that they're just on their own, random acts of kindness. Corey, you hear it in the morning when you're in, and we're trying to recognize publicly when students are doing that. But we want to find something to rally around, maybe a curriculum. There's a couple of different curriculums out there that are, some of them are free, but there's one that's called the Positivity Project that we're looking into. I've got another one on my iPad right now. Hold on, see if I can pull it up for you real quick, what it's called. Create Safer Schools by Choosing Love. called the Choose Love Enrichment Program. So this is just 2 examples of all these great social emotional learning programs that are out there, and this person would take charge of that. So they would be in charge of researching the different ones and then proposing to the staff and to you what they find and then what we feel would work best for our school. So I want to, in other words, more formalize the kindness recognition that we're doing. All right, let me go back. Let's see. Assist students on behavior plans who need a break from the classroom setting. So we do have some students who perform best if they get a break, if they get more often breaks than what we have set up for a normal school day. So sometimes, you know, those students that are bouncy students and they need a chance to get out and move around, that's what this person can do. So right now we do have paraprofessionals that are doing that, but this person, we would have one person that we could assign to do that instead of this day, hopefully this person's available to be able to do that, or maybe this day this person can do that. And during that time, when one person does it, we're building relationships again with those students, and that's what all of this is about, is building relationships, being a mentor, being a good role model. Unfortunately, we do have sometimes in-school suspension that's needed, so we need somebody who can manage an in-school suspension room. Work with students on low-level poor behavior choices that would result in a discussion over a think sheet. So this does not take me out of the discipline matrix. Actually, that's how I get to know students best, is when I can not all students, let me rephrase that because that sounds, some of our students, I would not have had the opportunity to sit and have in-depth conversations with them if unfortunately they weren't in there for the wrong reason. And so this becomes, because my philosophy with discipline is every student will feel respected when they walk out of my office. That is just, again, part of relationships. So I am not out of the discipline process. This person is to help me and support, and it's those low-level ones. Conflict mediation, so this person will be trained on appropriate conflict mediation. To first graders who were throwing snowballs at each other at lunch. So that's what I mean by low-level. Having conversations with students regarding attendance concerns. We know how important it is and what the statistics show for students who miss too much school. They would act as part of our school safety and security team, again, a mentor, and then act as a member of our new daily social emotional class for students needing a Tier 3 behavior intervention. So in looking at some of the research or the different programs that are available, one of the things that I'm working with the counselors on right now that we want to start, I would love to start it this next semester. If we can't make that happen, then it would be next year. But our counselors are fabulous at doing the Tier 1, they're fabulous at everything, but Tier 1, second step intervention is getting into all our classrooms. And then we have some Tier 2 interventions where we're meeting with some students once a week and going over appropriate social skills, friendship groups and things like that. We still have some students who need to hear it more than once a week. They need that support, they need that relationship, they need that reminder daily. And so we're looking at something that is just as important as social studies. Because if they're not in class because they're making a poor decision, they're not learning. So if we can make this a class 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 15, I'll take what I can get. But this person would help be a key component of that class. So I would be involved. Ms. Johnson, Ms. Fisher, our special ed teachers have shown interest in being involved. All sorts of people are being involved. But sometimes I'm called away or I'm not here. Ms. Johnson's here on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. This person's always here. And so that would be part of the role. So that's what we're looking at for an elementary dean. So it's a support role. As you'll hear with Stephanie's, some of the qualifications. My qualification is somebody who's worked with children, loves children, is level-headed, rational, can speak with children, build those relationships, and always with that lens, what's best for kids. So mine's more of a support role. Questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Trina.
So her job sounds like a lot more fun than mine. Have you looked at my job description? Yes, those elementary people. Oh no, I'm kidding. Okay, so for the secondary, the dean of students for us would primarily be the person responsible for, like Tarina beautifully said, low-level discipline kinds of concerns. So we are currently in the process of revising our student code of conduct. We are adding some restorative practices and some discretionary options to discipline. This person would be responsible for the kinds of behaviors that would result in a restorative practice, a mediated conversation that might result in a detention, that might result in some time in in-school suspension. But any behaviors that would elevate to the level of either a long-term in-school suspension, an out-of-school suspension, or an expulsion would be in consult with me and with Mark as well. So we're looking for somebody, I don't know if you have a copy of ours as well. Some of the basic duties are oversee and implement discipline at the secondary level on the whole with me. I am a firm believer that every mistake a child makes is an opportunity for there to be a lesson. So if it's not a learning opportunity, then we're not doing it right. So the emphasis for us on discipline is discipline as a way to develop self-discipline and internalize whatever the lesson is that can be gleaned from whatever the mistake was that was made. Oversee and implement our pyramid of interventions. So we've been working on level 1 interventions, like Trina mentioned, are things that every teacher should be doing in the classroom for every student. If it's unsuccessful, then either with behavior or academics, it rises to a level 2. So our dean of students would also monitor academic interventions in addition to behavioral interventions. And then that level 3 behavior is the stuff that would happen in consult with our entire administrative team. Monitoring student attendance and coordinating with our truancy officers. That's a real day-to-day concern. Supervise common spaces before school, during lunch, and during passing. We need to have more adults whose real sort of mission is to be out in the halls, talking to kids, listening, interacting with them, and then supervising our beautiful new common space out here, the dojo area, which we've opened up now for lunches, the gyms. So we're trying to create a more open, sort of free campus, but with that, we need some more supervision for those spaces. Establish and oversee peer-to-peer conflict resolution program. We don't currently have a peer-to-peer conflict resolution program. What happens now is kids come into my office and I might sit for an hour or so with 3 kids moderating a conflict. I don't know that that's necessarily the best use of my time, although I love doing it. I think that's something that a dean could do really well. Establish and oversee restorative practices in the in-school suspension program. So restorative justice is a concept that the state of Michigan has endorsed as an alternative form of discipline, and in-school is a perfect place for those kinds of conversations and behaviors to occur. So we need somebody to oversee that on a day-to-day basis. We're also trying to move the state testing coordination out of the counseling office, where they spend an inordinate amount of time coordinating with the state on testing, really in just organizational detail kinds of stuff, ordering materials, filling out forms, creating schedules. That's something that I'd love to see a dean do as well. Participate on our school crisis team. We are also working on our school-wide emergency operations plan, and part of that involves our school site crisis team. We'd like this person to participate on that. Assist with safety and security protocols. We would like somebody else to help us with nights and evening activities, weekend activities for oversight and for attendance. And then other stuff that pops up is our last, that lovely little phrase. So really, we're looking for somebody to assist our administrative team with discipline and with some of the day-to-day responsibilities that really detract from the time that we can spend doing some of the curriculum and instruction kinds of things that we'd like to be doing. Thank you. Questions? Yes.
Your position is a teacher position, right? You're looking for somebody who is a teacher, or no, not?
No, not necessarily. No. Mm-mm. No, we're not looking for a certified teacher or an administrator for this position.
Okay.
I think I listed it on there.
I think
Certified teacher, it's on your list.
We'd like them to have a teaching certificate in the event we want somebody, for example, to go fill in a classroom as a sub, or somebody who can fill in that role, but we're not looking for them to be a teacher.
But a requirement for the job is a teaching certificate.
That would be my preference, yes. Yes.
And have either of you worked with a similar position in your past jobs? Have you worked with Needham students before? Okay.
It would be mine as well, because I've always been in larger schools where there was a team of administrators. Yes.
I have worked with a dean of students at a private school in Cincinnati, and it was always a very, very...
Oh, yeah, I did. I forgot. Country Day. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Seven Hills had a dean of students, and they were a really high-ranking, mature, talented person with a lot of experience, because the role did get into restorative justice and all sorts of elements. I guess I would only say I'd just like to be sure we select the candidate who will best be able to do the job.
Yeah, I agree with you. This job description is pretty comprehensive. So somebody who can build relationships with students in a positive way, see them through their discipline, restore them back to their peer relationships or their classrooms, but also manage some stuff like testing, which is a big deal, and data, which is a big deal. So yeah, there are a variety of tasks on here that would require somebody who has a diverse skill set.
So it would be a 0.5 at the elementary and a 0.5 at the secondary, like it would be, or is it 2 positions or 1 position?
2 separate positions, Leah, and they'd be existing staff. So we would not be hiring outside of the district. There would not be new personnel coming on board. So 2 existing staff members. There would be an increase in wages for that position.
So it would be additional work on their duties that already exist?
That's correct. I mean, in terms of, without potentially saying any names as to who that might be, yes. So there would definitely be a magnification of some of the duties they already have. And within, and it's interesting because part of the interchange between the elementary and the secondary building, there will be a change of assignment coming up in January for one of them, and there will be some dominoes that will fall, will allow this position to be a very natural transition for this person if they so choose to take it. So the timing on this is really good for us. So we get a much stronger office structure, as was outlined to you so well, without us having to go out and bring in additional staff members.
So what's the timing? What are you looking for timing?
We'd like to have this as an action item for you to consider next Monday, the 16th.
Thank you.
Both of these positions report directly to the principals? Is that how that works?
Yes.
And then when you picture this down the road, these roles, what's not super clear to me is success. You know, what does success look like for these positions? I get the challenges that they have, but how would you describe, so if you put yourself out there a year from now with that person, you said, we've had a very successful year with you in this new position, what might be the things that you would be talking about as being successful? So what would be the things that we would see here that the change would bring?
So for me specifically, I would see a decrease in the number of what I call low-level discipline referrals, because this person would be working with those students who are repetitively doing these sort of disruptive, sometimes insubordinate kinds of behaviors with restorative practices. So ideally the behavior would change and then the number of referrals that we see would decrease. That's the number one thing for me. that this person would also be working with our staff to help our staff with these students in the classroom to help maybe avoid some of the conflicts that lead to kids being sent out of the classroom with this restorative practice training. So teaching teachers how to manage some difficult behaviors that they might otherwise just get fed up with and this kid's got to go. And they might still have to go, but ideally that would be less and less. For me also though, I'd like to see our academic data, specifically around the PSAT and the SAT, get better, because this person's going to be providing specific classroom reports of student growth data to the teachers on a routine basis, which right now we just don't have we don't have that nailed down yet in terms of being able to say to the teacher, look, the students took the PSAT in October, the results are now in for November. What's the intentional plan going to be for this tier of students at the bottom, for this tier right above them, for this tier right above them? And ideally, we'll see our student scores get better on the PSAT and the SAT with some targeted interventions that this person would help us develop. Those are my two big metrics.
It's great because to me, there's opportunity in this position, and we're talking about kind of the end of the line issues that are there, sort of if this is really considerate of the symptoms of how we get there, and they're proactively looking at that, and you can measure your success on that, then there's value here, from my perspective.
Do you track level 1 and level 2 now?
Not in any way that would be able to be shared. It's all anecdotal. So I saw this student 6 times this week. I saw that student 4 times the following week, but I don't have it in the sense of, so what I'd like to be able to do is triangulate some data and look at the number of discipline referrals for this student's performance scores, this student's grades, and see if these interventions that we're inserting are lowering the discipline referrals, increasing the student scores, and helping that student succeed more on those standardized tests. I'd like to look at all 3 of those measures, and right now we don't have that.
We don't have any macro numbers on level 1 or level 2.
I do not. Mm-mm.
Hard to compare then.
Actually, I'm going to a training this Wednesday. Jen and I are going to, and it's brand new for elementary, and it is a diagnostic tool to see where students are on social emotional learning. So what have they learned so far, like with second step? So they're taking like a pre-test right now. We're gonna go learn how to read the data on Wednesday and next steps. So elementary will have some data. And that's what we're hoping then to take that and say, okay, this is what kids still need to know more, more information on and whatnot. It's got 4 different quadrants that we can look at for that. And then to answer your question, almost the exact same thing. One is to reduce the number of referrals, for sure. That is definitely success. Keeping kids in the classroom is where I really want to see our success. That's where they are going to, that's where the intrinsic motivation comes back in, when they're feeling like, I'm a student, I'm here, I'm getting what I need. Are their scores coming up? The students that this person will mostly be working with are students who do need that extra. And so that's where I'm hoping more time in the classroom for them, and then more time for me in the rest of the classrooms.
And we do have behavioral data right now. So the ISD provides us this beautiful dashboard that pulls the data right out of PowerSchool for us and puts it in a real time, any moment I want to see. And it gives me information by grade, by teacher, by type of referral, by time of day, by location in the building, by gender, by nationality. It breaks it down into all these amazing different categories. So I can see right now, for example, where our hotspots are, and that would be the first place I would put this person in terms of interventions.
That's really what I was looking for.
Yes, I do have lots of baseline data on behavior. Yes.
When you talked about the testing kinds of things, the same person who would be necessarily good at the discipline piece and that sort of thing may not be as skilled with the testing piece, in my experience at least. And I guess the one thing that I'm worried about, John, is that this is such an important piece that sliding current people into the role worries me greatly. I think this is something you put out and have people apply for. It is a huge role as described.
Right. And part of my hesitation with putting, for example, testing and data on this job description was just that. Am I going to get somebody who has that variety of skills? And I might not. But between Mark and Tarina and myself and whoever this person is and our counselors, we can look at the variety of job descriptions that we have and divide them where best or more most appropriate, I should say. So I'm not locked into the idea that this person has to, for example, pull the data, put it in beautiful charts and share it with teachers, especially because we have this great new regional-wide data hub called Otis, which does some amazing work. So really, if I can get the person to learn Otis, they don't really have to do any of that dirty work anymore that we used to have to do for hours on end. It's really done for us. And I've gone through the Otis training, so there are some really great tools out there. So that person doesn't have to be a math matrix data guru. They just have to know how to use the technology platform. But I share a very similar concern. Thank you.
So you'll have all detailed data for the next meeting? For who and how?
Right, exactly, Rick. We will have recommendations for you as to who those folks would be. We'll show you their qualifications and how they might fit. And I would like to think, and I really appreciate what Jenna has had to offer, there's going to be a lot of training. This isn't going to be an overnight switch. This is going to be a growth process, and I think those types of voices of experience are definitely things that we want to pay attention to. But yes, Rick, we'll have all that information for you, and probably more resume style. So you'll have those and see how that those bridge in, and the principals will provide those connections for you. I would just offer, Board, that for me, and I would just emphasize that which Tarina touched on, it's just deeply important to me to see my principals in the classrooms more than they are. The number of brush fires that come up and other things that are taking them away from being able to be in classrooms, being with the students, being able to be with the teaching staff, to be able to work with them and coach them and allow them to have every opportunity possible to be teachers that are highly qualified. My apologies. Highly qualified, highly effective. There we go. But to be highly effective so that they can qualify for the highest ranking that our evaluation tool in the state provides. We have two outstanding principals that need to be with our teachers more, and so that's really been my motivation to look at this. Jen, I have, as a principal, worked with a dean of students. It was a position that I created a few years back, and it allowed me to do the things that I knew only I could do, and that's really what I'm hoping these two good principals will have more and more time to do, just that which we've hired them to do. Because if our principals are not instructional leaders, then we've missed the boat. If they become really just disciplinarians and having to work through that the majority of their day, then we're cheating our kids, and we're surely cheating our instructors, our faculty. So thank you for your consideration of all this.
Did we have people in these positions before?
No.
Even at the high school, middle school level, we did not?
That's correct.
Okay.
This would be brand new for Glen Lake. One of the things that we've talked about internally is to, kind of become the best private public school in Michigan, and to take on some of those traits that are at Interlochen or Detroit Country Day or Jenna, where you've worked. And so we want to learn from everyone and incorporate everything we possibly can, again, for the benefit of our faculty and our students and their families.
I think probably for the majority, well, I could guess. I know for myself, conceptually, it really makes a lot of sense conceptually. And sometimes just the arena, the board meeting, and the inability to talk at times. I think for myself, where I struggle tonight is I have to imagine what the cost is related to this, or what the idea would be. And so for me, if you're catching anything that would be like, well, I'm not really sure, the not knowing where we really fit into, because we have a job description without really a salary kind of range. That's just something that is a distraction, maybe more than what I would like it to be in terms of supporting the concept. So I hope you hear that boy, this is a great concept. Just in this particular meeting, it's a little limited in terms of what you guys picture as who it needs to be and the cost of some of this to the district.
$19 an hour for the elementary. Dean of students, $21 an hour for the secondary. Dean of students with full benefits for both.
Okay, that helps a bunch.
You bet. Thanks for asking, Jason.
Can I ask one more sort of follow-up question? I've never worked in a school that doesn't have a dean. It's amazing to me that we have so many administrators, or so few administrators to run a building. I'm used to having more administrators. So kudos to all of you who work very hard. Why would these not be AP positions?
Say that again, please. I'm sorry.
Why would we do a dean versus another assistant principal or an AP position?
Well, the principals can sure speak to this as well. I think as they outlined, this is a good step for us. It's cost effective, but overall effective. It's going to be able to accomplish the things that we need without us needing to go to an assistant elementary principal with 350 students, for instance. Okay. If we had 650 students, then I think we would, we would look at that, because at that point you're increasing your faculty, and that extra administrator is going to help with all your evaluations. And so for us, as described, it'll take care of a lot of the needful issues with attendance, discipline, but also getting into a few of the areas that will assist the counselors if they're able to help even just a little bit with some of the testing dynamics and logistics and all. And then over time, Leah, will be a lot wiser as to how well this has worked. Not that couldn't be considered, but at least from my experience, another administrator, even at the secondary level right now, is just not necessary as it sits right now. Now, maybe we grow another 100 students and some of these things that, we've got as targets, then I think that can be revisited. But also keeping the dean of students. Because ultimately, if you're hiring an assistant principal, you don't want to hire them as a disciplinarian per se, right? You want them to be the same thing, coaching teachers and working with students in instructional areas. So we really strengthen that program. Principals, if you see that different, please speak to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is this an action item that you would like to see next week?
We'll put it on the agenda for next week, board, if that's okay. Yeah.
So we can move on to the action items. I apologize for my tardiness. Thank you, Corey.
Have to get a dean for the school board, I guess. 9719, the approval of the MHSAA postseason travel. I'm assuming this has already occurred, so we're kind of...
Well, this has been before you as a board in past years, and in August, your superintendent had the bright idea to not have a blanket MHSAA overnight travel policy that each instance should come up. Well, that was not a real genius move, because we were scrambling to get that taken care of, as you recall, over the last couple board meetings. So this would be an action item for your consideration that has been done in the past. And what this does, board, is it says that if indeed, let's say, one of our teams advances in the playoffs and they win on a Tuesday night in a regional and they've got a quarterfinal Thursday night and it's going to be down in Kalamazoo, it authorizes the superintendent to work on your behalf to authorize that overnight trip and the costs that would be associated with it.
When you started talking, you said it was a policy before? This was a
It-
board policy?
It was, if I said policy, I apologize.
Oh, okay.
It had been a board resolution
Okay.
in the past. Bethany, I think, even had it ready to go in August, and I said, well, let's just do that on an individual basis versus a blanket resolution. She was right, I was wrong, and we're just trying to correct it at this point. I think that's what you wanted me to say, wasn't it, Bethany?
That was perfect.
Thank you.
Do we have
Enough
a
said.
motion to approve action item 9719?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 9819, approval of the board workshop cancellation on December 23rd. Anyone care to talk about that?
So moved.
For obvious reasons.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 9919, the approval of our special board meeting on the 16th of December. That's to discuss the,
That'll be to discuss the, yes, potentially either the Walgast Construction Corporation or Chrisman Construction Company. Both outstanding companies. We've really come to enjoy our time with both companies' representatives. I think we're going to have a lot of fun next Monday night. We'll hear some great things, and my hope is you have a very difficult decision. That means you've got two companies that really came in and came in with their A game. That's our hope.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have separate principal reports, or have we
We do.
done
yes.
that? Okay.
Separate reports.
Thank you. So I'll just be really quick. You've got the report from November and the one for December. I'll just highlight a couple of quick things. For students, we have a peer-to-peer tutoring program that was launched by one of our students who asked for some support and came up with the idea and surveyed our students and collected all of the names and came up with a proposal. It was really, really cool to see. So that has started on a really small, I think we have 4 or 5 kids who have signed up for some tutors, and we have some students who've been making those arrangements to do that after school here in their library. So that's been very exciting. We also started our club program through advisory that was student driven again. They got to recommend whatever clubs they wanted, and then our staff, Kathy Kangas, coordinated for students to sign up and then worked with teachers to be advisors for those clubs, and those were launched last Friday. So that was very exciting for us. In instruction, we did get some advisory parent feedback. We got parent feedback about our advisory parent conferences that we held in October, and we went through that as a staff so that we can make some changes for the spring and improve on that process. It went amazingly well. We were thrilled with that. And then we've started with curriculum alignment at the K-12 level. So in the secondary school, each of the 4 core departments have now met with me, and they've got their charges to start developing some curriculum maps for you to see in February based on the strategic plan that you came up with. And then in the scheduling, I mentioned the scheduling consultant. And then at the bottom of scheduling, we're working on our dual enrollment process to align it with the state expectations for what dual enrollment should look like. And we'll be having some parent meetings to share the changes for dual enrollment with our parents. Many of our juniors have already experienced some of those changes, given that the state really says that if you are offering a class on your campus, you need not pay for a dual enrolled class. So because we're going to be offering, ideally, if fingers crossed you vote for our courses, we'll be able to have our students stay with us next fall. In the fine arts department, you saw Little Shop of Horrors was an amazing success. It was such a great production, and it was really, really exciting for our kids. Not only those who participated, but for the kids who got to see their classmates doing such really world-class performance. So it was very exciting for us. And then in our music, in our band, we've had several guest artists working with our band students as well. So Pat Brumbaugh and Flinoy Humphreys have been bringing in experts in different instruments to work with our kids and get them some training. So we're very excited about that. We have an art club that has started during advisory. I think she told me today she had 27 students in art club, so that's really exciting. Under staff updates, I mentioned that we have our staff working on our student code of conduct. I just wanted to highlight that we have a series of collaborative teams that have taken on projects that really needed to get some attention, and our staff have volunteered to do those things. So we have a volunteer committee of staff who run our advisory program, and they create all of the lessons and push those out to our staff. We have our counselors working on our parent information events. We have a code of conduct committee. We have people helping us with the course guide, looking at the department work. And so it's been super exciting to see our staff come together around projects that they care about and making decisions. I'm a huge fan of distributive leadership. So we get together, we talk about what the vision is, and then they sort of dig in and bring me their proposals. It's been very exciting. So yeah, those are the highlights for us. Can I answer any questions?
Can we go back to the AP classes? How are you going to
Sure.
teach the students about what we offer? So they're really aware ahead of time. Talk to their parents and make
So each of our counselors they will go into classrooms and talk about the entire course list that they can choose from before they sign up. So they will highlight all the new offerings, and they'll highlight by class what the requirements are. So they'll go into the 9th grade classes and talk about what the required courses are that they have to sign up for, and then what their elective opportunities are. And they will hit every single classroom. So students will hear directly from our counselors, and they'll have a piece of paper in their hand that lists all of their options before they register.
What about the students who are in our district that they want to, how do we?
That's a really great question. I don't think we've even considered how we would advertise yet, but we will definitely put that on our list to consider.
I've heard excellent feedback on the clubs. It's really exciting.
Oh, great. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. It's been really fun. I don't know, Spencer, what club are you in?
I'm in art club.
Oh, good.
Everyone is actually very excited about the clubs, and they're very popular. And we've only met once so far, so I'm very excited.
Good.
There's a great lineup of clubs to choose from.
Yeah.
Yeah, my senior came home kind of excited about it.
Oh, good.
About her club experience, and that was great.
That's great. Thank you. That's really good feedback.
Herman.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I saw some kids walking out of that room all fired up and excited, so that was great. That was great.
Yep, so neat opportunities.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay.
All right. So I feel like you've heard a lot of what I've already, what I have in my report and what I talked about earlier. So I am going to highlight a few things. I just want to, again, say thank you for the support of hiring Cassidy Fisher and bringing Amy Johnson back, because the work that they are doing, like I said earlier, because I can't highlight it enough, it has just turned things around in just such a fantastic way. Students need that. They need that support. They need social emotional learning. They need, again, relationships, that safe adult. And these two have mad skill that just cannot be duplicated. So since they've come on board, because I was not able to do this on my own, since they've come on board, they have started several programs. They've, like I mentioned earlier, they've got Second Step back in the classroom, so our students were missing that, and that is a state standard that we teach some sort of SEL curriculum. There are standards that we need to follow. They've got that back going. They are, I talked earlier about Tier 2 interventions and some of the groups that they've started. They've started things like a friendship group, some boys friendships groups, girls friendship groups, different age levels, so there's more than one friendship group. Cassidy's got an environmental group going on that she wants to piggyback off with eventually, with the high school has one. There are some kiddos who would rather, which we love, read during recess. So she's doing book club on Fridays with 3rd and 4th graders. We have a grief group going. We've got a girl group in one of our upper elementary grades, as well as a boy group. That has all happened since you've approved bringing them on. So I couldn't be more excited. We have also have classroom grandma and grandpas that are going to be starting with us. So do you already know about that? How wonderful is that? We're bringing the community into our school, and again, just building that more relationships for kids. So Amy's really been working hard on that. PALS, which is another secondary and elementary program that we have going together. And that is, if you ever get a chance to visit the school, do you know what day we do PALS is? Tuesdays? Thank you. During advisory time, to see the little ones just looking up at the high school kids. I mean, they just, and they're being, the high school kids are, and some middle school kids are being so patient, and they're asking their questions, and it's just seeing those relationships form, and again, just another person for our kids to connect to. So they've got that going. So fabulous stuff going on with our counseling department. Something else that I'd like to highlight is our robotics team. So we've had so many sports celebrations going on, and that includes also in the elementary. I want to say our 4th grade boys won a trophy this weekend. Was it
4th grade girls also.
4th grade girls, and then who does Miss Schichtel coach? Is it 3rd? Which one? 4th grade girls? Okay. So elementary's bringing home those awards, but robotics is rocking and rolling, and talking about offering another opportunity for kids. I had one parent say to me, my kiddo's not real sporty, but with robotics, they're shining, and they're bringing the awards. And they're also bringing that Laker characters. Sawyer was recognized last week on our announcements for going out of his way to be a good teammate to his team. So they have, let's see, for the November board report, 5th grade robotics, that tickle me Elmos, took 2nd place. But then since then, we also have, I want you to hear, Glen Lake had a great day on Saturday in Sutton's Bay. Our 5th grade team qualified for the state competition, which is on February 29th, mark your calendars, by winning the Excellence Award. And it's because of actions like Sawyer, and our kids they're learning to work together, they're learning to problem solve, they're learning communication, those 21st century skills that we hear about. It's just, if you ever get a chance to visit their practice after school in the elementary wing, please do. It's powerful. They also won the Sportsmanship Award, which is a teamwork and collaboration award, and our 3rd grade team won the Energy Award, which is given to the team with the most team spirit and enthusiasm for their team and robotics as a whole. And so we have all sorts of pictures. I also had a parent, Ms. Thompson, who emailed John and me today to let us know that some 5th graders really went out of their way at this competition, showed kindness, showed teamwork to help some 2nd graders out whose robot had broken like right before the competition. And these 5th graders just like dove right in and helped them out. So they were able to participate. That's Laker spirit, that's Laker character. So those are the things I want to highlight. Just as far as instruction goes, again, as Stephanie said, K-12, we are also doing the vertical alignment. I've met with most grade levels. I had to cancel a couple because I was out a couple of days. My coughing buddies right there. We have rescheduled most of those meetings, but we're talking about the vertical alignment as well. 4th and 5th grade has a unit gen. They have gotten a unit of CKLA. So our younger grades do our resource for language arts is CKLA. And so to aid in that alignment, we are testing out a unit in our 4th and 5th grade this year. So that's something that's going on instructionally. We have a lot of professional learning going on with teachers that we had talked about. We had a staff meeting after school today, and one of the problems that I talked to John about a couple weeks ago is we've got too many things we want to know about. And what a great problem to have. And so right now, we've got people delving into a lot of brain research. So Jen did something today on integrative brain therapy that she's been working on, and that kind of goes with some work that some other teachers have done called Balavisex. I'm not trained, so I'm not the expert, but again, it has to do with brain and how the hemispheres are talking to each other and connecting and focus and rhythm and visual to increase student learning, so helping our brains grow. We have teachers that are working on, we had 2 teachers today present on autism. They went to a conference on that. So the learning is really, it's exciting and it's passionate in the elementary. So that's where we're going. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Well, within the last 5 or so weeks, our fall sports season has wrapped up. Early November, Ryan Scott and our boys and girls cross-country teams both qualified for state finals for the first time in 19 years. Back-to-back regional champion McKenna Scott, a sophomore, finished 4th. That's the first top 5 state final finish for a Laker in a dozen years. Ryan Scott was awarded with a Track Coaches Association award as well. So what a great wrap up to the season for our cross-country programs. And what an experience to officially finish the fall sports season at Ford Field, huh? What a great, great experience that was for Jerry Andrews and our football program and our entire school and community. And Coach Andrews was also just recently named the Football Coaches Association Regional Coach of the Year. So just a fantastic performance by our football program throughout the course of the playoffs. Added to the list of academic all-state for our fall sports teams, tennis and volleyball were previously named, and now cross country. I don't know if that concludes the list. Those are put out by the coaches associations of each sport. Some have a tendency to lag, but for now, those 3 programs, our sports, were named Academic All-State, so we're extremely proud of them as well. The MHSA reported to us during the playoff season, the stretch, the first 2 home games that we played, that they were more than impressed with our automated live stream numbers. Our first playoff game at home, over 1,039 to be exact, live stream views. And then our second game, Harrison, 2,027 live stream views. And I asked the MHSA Director of Communications, John Johnson, to clarify, is that like that's one person? And he did clarify that, well, if people log out and log back in, then that would be considered perhaps a second view. But he said all in all, by and large, spectacular numbers and over and above pretty much most of the schools through the playoff run. So I attribute that to what we usually reference as Laker Nation, right? This is really Laker world, because there have been people from everywhere that have been viewing. I would love to get my hand on some of the data that shows where people are watching from, and I'm going to seek that. But that has been a super addition for us, and we are up and ready now. Well, not ready. I need to do a live test stream for the basketball season coming up in the gymnasium. So that's something very exciting for us. I will echo again the Little Shop of Horrors, the cast, the crew, Bill Dungeon, Ashley Larimer-Kelly, Alicia Romzek, for all of the work behind the scenes and on that stage that everybody had done. The students that I interacted with were so pleased with their performance. And the person that oversees the Fine Arts Department these days, I couldn't be more proud of that entire cast and crew. The stage, folks, amazing. Rick, was that your work? Did you spearhead that?
I was a grunt. I was
absolutely.
With everybody and Matt's design, and you know, it was unbelievable. You know, all the work that Father did in his shop, brought the stuff in, assembled it, and all fit together, and it was amazing.
Yeah, incredible. The sound system, the lighting, what a major upgrade for that facility. We've received partial shipment of our stage curtains, and the rest are being sewn, as we speak here. So that will be the next phase entering there. So we've got a busy week this week. Boys and girls basketball opens up with their home openers. Girls on Wednesday. There was a void with our opponent not having a JV girls team, but we have just replaced that with a very talented young group of freshmen in Traverse City Central's freshman female group there. And then our girls varsity will take on Charlevoix. And then on Thursday, our boys JV and varsity will open with Elk Rapids. Wednesday, the elementary holiday concert. Thursday, the secondary holiday concert. I want to make sure that everybody is aware that going back to the dates for Little Shop and for these concerts, Bill and Ashley and I have worked very closely on trying not to conflict as best possible. So we've adjusted some of the start times between the concerts this week and the start of at least the varsity games for the boys and the girls this week to avoid as much overlap as we possibly could there. And then on Saturday, our boys basketball season wraps up already. First winter sport finished, and we'll host that Northwest Conference Jamboree here on Saturday morning, so we look forward to that. And then also on Saturday, very cool, headed up by Shan Bowens, a bus full of Lakers will head into Traverse City to help the Salvation Army and ring those kettlebells at 6 various locations in town. So a bunch of Lakers spread throughout Traverse City on Saturday to lend back to the community. So we're super excited and proud of that as well. Thank you. Questions? Comments?
How are you feeling, Mark? You a little tired?
Winter sports are in full swing. I don't have time for that.
You sound like you're not sick anymore. Or on the edge?
No, I'm about 95% back to strength. Yeah, you guys are. Literally, as most know, Friday night on leaving Ford Field, the further north I got, the more hoarse my voice got, and then I was literally in bed for 4 days. So I think the fall sports season literally came crashing down on me. A quick break from the action, and here we go. Let's wind it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, quickly, I learned of a new program today that my son ran into actually out in Baltimore at a lacrosse conference, and it's called Sports Mentalytics, like analytics. And you take this test, it takes about 10-15 minutes. I did it today, and it comes back and it shows you where your strengths are in terms of teamwork, in terms of your intestinal fortitude, basically, just your drive. I'll introduce you to the guy that it's out of Ann Arbor in a startup company. They've been around a couple years now, but I'll introduce you to him and try to get you a sign on. You ought to try it. I looked at mine and I'm like, yeah, that really is who I am. So
wow.
It's very interesting, but they do it for teams and for individuals. So then what you can do is you can work with your team, and then you know what their strengths are, their internal strengths, and you can help them then become better athletes. So I'll introduce you to them. It's very interesting.
It's time for public comment. Does anyone have any public comment? Pam?
It will be live streamed, yes.
No,
It's a live stream. You should be able to see it as it's happening.
No, she wants to know if it's recorded. Is it
Oh.
recorded?
It will be
Everything's archived, yes. I'm sorry. Sorry, Pam.
Lori?
Question, do you have specific courses already that do this, that already have a curriculum lined up?
We, Mr. Morgan and I and Colbeck's team talked about those two things, entrepreneurship and we have some ideas for you now. I wouldn't say we necessarily have a course, but I think with a little encouragement, we could definitely get on.
I was actually asking in terms of other schools that are doing a similar thing.
And I would love the opportunity to go out and look at some of the programs to get more information on that. I would love every opportunity. I have talked with junior achievement quite a bit and was ready to do some things over the summer. But with our transition, we kind of put a pause on that because we didn't want to put too much out there that we would have to back walk on. So I am open. I love it. I'm passionate about it. So maybe everybody come back to it.
Thank you.
Alicia?
I didn't do much. I just carried a couple things around, and I hurt my finger, and I fell off the stage. I mean, I didn't.
Okay. So I'll just say again, I want to thank Rick for the weekends that he came to help us build the stage and the set. I want to thank Mark for his patience and for spending the time to help me learn what I had to do to make Little Shop of Horrors work. Like I said, it was something I never, in my wildest dreams, could I have imagined some of the hills that I had to overcome to make this work. There was things that came up that I literally had 12 hours. I had 24 hours to make a decision because I was unaware that this needed to be done in a certain time. And Mark just did the best he could to help me out, make decisions, make things happen. We also, as a department, asked a lot of the school. We asked a lot financially to help us to make this happen. I think Jen Fosmore never wants to talk to me again. She was very key in helping me make things happen. So I just wanted to shoot some kudos to her. But again, just as a school in a whole, thank you for helping us make this happen.
Thank you, Alicia.
Why did you pick such a complicated step? Wow.
Because we have had one of the best set designers, and he has a job, but this is what he does. This is passion. He didn't get paid for this. He did all of this with his heart, and you could tell his patience with the students, his patience with anybody that showed up to come help build was just unbelievable. I mean,
He made no shortcuts.
none.
He did everything as though it was for a professional.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone.
Things about, just looking at some perspective. What do you do to put some depth on something?
Yeah.
Just the layers of paint and the types of techniques with the sponges and stuff.
Yeah. And the hard work that it takes to make something happen. The work ethic that these kids came and they saw that a lot of us were there, and we were there every weekend, and we needed to work as a team. I say my daughter never wants to make bricks ever again because she probably did one half of a wall by herself. But the cast that came together, the students really could see the hard work, and then also now seeing the hard work come and the benefit of it was just. He's a friend of Bill Dungeon's, and he works out of Traverse City. But I don't know if anybody read the program, his credentials are mind-blowing.
He works for a science.
Mm-hmm. But he's been doing this for over 30 years, doing set design. So, yeah, the caliber of people that Bill brought to help us with the play was absolutely mind-blowing and impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
One thing I just want to acknowledge, the last time you came to a meeting, you pushed us to have live streaming happen. We listened and put that into our annual plan, and tonight it's happening, and I really want to commend the team and then the insight from you to get us going on this, Alicia. So thanks. It's a good night for us to have this happening as well. Thanks for coming back on our first night. So.
Any other public comment? All right, moving on to our superintendent report.
Well, Board, as you know, over the past 5 months, we've dealt with some pressing matters, and what a wonderful thing tonight that for the better part of 2 hours, you've been able to hear about your school district and all the great things that your staff, students, and the parents are doing to bless the lives of children. That was actually something we talked about. That was one of the Christmas gifts we were hoping to give you tonight, was that you could just hear all the great things, the questions that you've asked, the responses you've received, but mostly to know that through your leadership and guidance, your staff, your student body is doing the things that we expect here at Glen Lake, which, as we've talked about, we are dedicated to excellence in everything that we do, all the time. And what a great night. What a great night for a Board of Education. In January, it's Board of Education Recognition Month. So we got a little bit of a head start, and we'll do some special things with and for you in January as well. Earlier, before our meeting tonight, Brooke and I attended the Parent Action Committee meeting. Some of our parents are here tonight that are a part of that. And Brooke, did you want to take a moment and highlight a few of the things that we discussed in that meeting?
Sure. So first of all, there was an introduction of the new PAC members because there's a lot of new. Oh, there you go. Okay. Anyway, so we introduced the new PAC members. There is still an opening for a second grade parent. So if somebody is interested in participating in that. But it was a fun discussion. Pam shared an update on middle school activities. I'm looking at the agenda. There's the parking lot update, the playground update, but there was actually just much more conversation about all of the things that we're working on doing for the students. And I'm not being even remotely eloquent about what we talked about in the back, so if there's something that you want to add to it, but it was a good meeting, and it's a great group, and yeah.
Looked like there was some new faces.
A lot of new faces, and yeah.
No, that's really the essence of it. We talked about field trips and how it's our belief that if it is something we are sending our students to, that we should not turn everything into a fundraiser for our parents. If it's that important and that valuable, then it needs to be put into the budget. It needs to be covered. And folks, as we've talked about in different settings, whether that is a trip for our English 12 class to go down to Grand Rapids for a day, a night, and a day to see Hamilton, and do some other things involving literature in that area. We're very excited about that. But again, we didn't want to have to go have a candy bar sale to have our kids go have that type of an experience. And again, whether it's domestically or internationally, that's sure something we hope to be able to value in a way, not just because that's what we do believe, but also because we have the financial wherewithal to be able to make those kinds of priorities if we so desire. We talked about with one of these construction companies coming on board to be able to take advantage of one or more of their engineers to help us with some of the parking and traffic flow issues that we have by our main entrance. I know that both companies are more than willing and wanting to help us with that. And then because of Kelly Choick's experience along with Rick's experience and the remarkably successful project that they had with the playground area down in Glen Arbor, we'll be calling upon Rick and Kelly. Also, Marnie LaPaw and Trina. Those will really be the four key figures for the new, we don't want to call it a playground. There will be playground equipment there, but it's really going to be a park. It's going to be something really, really special. And I know Rick's excited about it. And so, folks, we have some opportunities to do things both within our own budget, sinking fund. This is a sinking fund eligible project, as well as using our federal impact aid dollars. And again, I know I hit this piano key, hopefully not too often for you, but it's really important that we start identifying these types of projects as federal impact aid projects, so that we can go back and have the type of conversation we need to with those involved with FLISA. And we'll be heading off to that in January here in just a few short weeks. I think that covered it. That hit it pretty well, Pam and Alicia, for what we talked about in there. Activities for middle school students, we want to ramp that up. I know, Mark, that's part of your student council responsibilities. I know that the kids have been talking about more than just dances, things that can be done, whether that's coming up on December 20th and possibly the kids going bowling. Again, the question came up, hey, Hoove, are we going to need to send $5 for that? And no, those are trips that we value every bit as much as any other trip. We want fun to be a part of that. I mean, that esprit de corps and that camaraderie for our young people to know that they're valued as middle schoolers. Folks, we might not always be able to put that on a ledger sheet or quantify that like some things, but there's a qualitative value to that we cannot overlook. And I think we talked about that to some degree, and I think successfully so. So, again, little things. Spencer, I don't know how the kids see it, but I know when we first put out the hot chocolate and cookies in the media center on Friday, it was like ants to a picnic. And so, the kids, but just to let them know, just let's have some fun and enjoy the day, enjoy the spirit of the season. And I know Kelly Sandy, she was pretty thrilled. She says, John, I've had kids come in here I haven't seen for quite a while. And so it was a fun day. We'll continue that on through the end of the week next week. But that's it. So as a parent action committee, and I will just, I guess, end with this, is I'll definitely use them as a sounding board for things we've talked about, things we're looking at, to get their really expert thoughts and opinions, as Lincoln says, using that as kind of that public opinion bath, and be able to better understand what not only they believe is important for our district to be working on and looking at, surely those that they represent. So I thought it was a really high energy, just a great meeting tonight. That's why we were scrambling, Brooke and I, to get in here just before the meeting started. There's a lot going on. And the other item, do you have any questions or comments on that, board? And then I'll simply close with just not going through this for you. You have this draft itinerary for the potential senior trip. We'll be doing a presentation for you in January. And one thing, Spencer, I hope you noticed on there, we were able to move the trip another 2 days, which brings you into, depending on what day you would fly out. Spencer has some family activities that would not allow him to fly out with us on the 17th. Our goal is to have him fly into Paris, either on day 5 or day 6. We'll talk about that. And then we'll pick him up at the airport, and he'll be able to join us for the rest of the trip. So when he told me he wouldn't be able to come, I said, okay, well, no, we're going to readjust everything we can. And the tour director was very kind in understanding our request and moving the trip another 2 days forward. Rick?
Just a question. What are we going to do for the students who can't make this trip because of work, because of whatever?
Yeah.
What other type of trip are we going to have for them?
Nothing. We'll send them postcards. That'll pretty much be it. Yeah.
At least from each city, maybe?
Pardon? Yeah.
Postcard from each
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got students that have work.
Yeah.
We have students that will be staying for football camps that they want to go to. And all of them are just fine with it. They understand this is part of life's choices, and no hard feelings, at least Spencer, from anyone that I've heard from, everyone. Our goal, of course, is to be able to put you in a position to be able to also cover the expenses for this trip. Right now, they've been told that they're responsible for $800. I don't have a price on here for you because, again, it's toggling a little bit, but it's going to be somewhere in the $3,000 to $3,200 range, depending on what kind of price we can get from Delta primarily on the tickets. And so that we might have some more, Rick, that would be able to go if they didn't have to come up with the $800.
So why wasn't this trip scheduled for during school so that they could all go?
Well, you'd be taking a look at 2 weeks out of academic instructional time, getting ready for commencement, sports. If that were the case, I'd have 5 kids coming with me. Yeah. I mean, it's a fair question, and one that we looked at briefly, but to be gone for 12 days during the instructional year, especially, Rick, because over 65% of our students are involved in extracurricular activities, yeah, we would have cut out a pretty big swath. Yep. It's a fair question, but one we hope that, and Spencer, you can speak to this if you see this differently, we hope that this would be the time frame that we would be able to get the most students. We did take a look at spring break. It would have shortened the trip down, but many families already had spring break trip plans. There we go. Yeah, so we avoided that as well. Yeah. Thank you. Spencer, did I come close to what the kids were thinking on that?
Yeah, I've talked to most of our grade about it, and they seem to be like, they understand that this is the best time that we can make it work, and those who can't make it because of various reasons understand, and they seem content with that.
And is that true for the, I guess it's still sports, like that, right? Because seniors are done 10 days or 12 days. Is that just way too, to do, when seniors are gone, then they go on their trip and then they come back and graduate?
Commencement.
Is it only a week? Got it.
Yeah, there's that part of it, but.
Stressful time of year, or?
Yeah. And by the way, we had to get past June 13th, which was the final day of MHSAA baseball, softball state championships and all of that, yes. And in fact, Mark, part of that moving that off of Monday works in case we have a rain out for softball, baseball on Saturday. They'd be playing it on Monday. So we've missed that as well. All right. Okay. Great. And board, that's my report for you this evening.
Great.
There's no board correspondence, and we've gone over the scheduled future meetings. Does anyone have anything they want to discuss as, in the study session portion here that they wanted to bring up?
I would.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Or, yeah, I'll remember. I wrote it down.
Okay. I would like to bring up when we had our retreat and Jason presented our 1 year, our 3 year, and our, I don't know what was 3 year?
The 1 year plan and the 3 year.
3 year, yeah. And I really think it's important to talk that over and to start practicing that. I don't know really what that will take time-wise, but I think that will really keep us focused on what our initial goals are, and then the 3 to 5 year. And I just personally think that it's an important tool we need to use always.
At our last meeting, we talked about that we would embed those kinds of conversations into the workshop sessions each, unless our memory on that is incorrect. And then Jason and Bethany have already, they've made some plans to meet, and Bethany will actually be attending one of Jason's meetings to better understand that process.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time we get to that workshop in January, folks, we should be in pretty good stead, and then we'll just trust that Jason will continue to guide us through that process so we make these meetings just as powerful as we can. And doing everything you just said, Corey. That's right. We want to make sure that's before us and the public on a constant basis.
Yeah, and I'll just comment real quick. So tomorrow, coming to our Chair of Public's Executive Level 10 meeting is what we call that, where we really go through the items, or our rocks and our goals and our metrics. I thought it was important as a first step for Bethany, who is really responsible for our agenda and how that flows, to see how it works. That stuff is embedded within our agenda, so that she can see that, and then we can review what she sees from there and find the best spot within our agenda, likely in the discussion piece, in the workshop area for us to review. So it would be, in my mind, each month, we would take a moment to process this very quickly, but, I want to get her up to speed on how that works so that it can flow naturally within the meetings without stretching the meeting any longer than it needs to be. So really, we can bubble this stuff up very quickly and make it, a vigorous part of our meeting. And so I'm with you, John. I think in January, we'll be ready to just make it part of our once a month, we'll be able to just note how we're doing, and if we need to discuss as a board, then we'll be able to discuss it within that meeting very quickly. So that's the goal. I'm promising a lot right now. It starts with Bethany's experience tomorrow, but hopefully that'll go well.
If the more we practice it, the better we're going to be at it. And, I think it's super important for us.
Thanks for bringing that up, Corey.
Yeah, thanks, Jason.
Rick, did you have something more?
You wrote it down.
I wrote notes all over the place.
I have something.
I absolutely can't remember.
I'm sorry, I just had to jab a little bit with my mumbling at the beginning of the meeting.
I had something, and so whether it has to do with our meetings or it's more coding. Corey and I have talked about this, but it kind of, in the course of all these great things that you're working on in both the elementary and secondary, I was thinking, we've been talking about coding and the importance of offering that to our kids. Lori, yes, exactly. I didn't see you back there still at first, but yes. And maybe like coding for girls, like something like that. I mean, of course, not only girls, but like maybe, but a class, like a group that sort of is targeted toward our elementary kids, our middle schoolers, and I've read about just coding is basically a language. I mean, it is a language, right? One that I know nothing about, but
it's multiple.
Yeah,
languages.
multiple languages. And so with our commitment to languages, our commitment to all of this in preparing our future citizens, it seems like allowing them to get that experience, right, and graduate with that in their back pocket, having this language, or being able to sort of communicate at that level and create the jobs that they're going to need to create in the future and that sort of thing. So, Trina. Oh, neat.
Yeah, the sixth graders were really intense. So there's been an introduction.
God, that's excellent.
And Katrie O'Neill, when my oldest, your youngest, in second grade, she would come into the classrooms and the kids loved it. They would stay in for recess and they would do the coding and with Katrie O'Neill. Yeah, so she really got them, but then it kind of, so I think it's so important.
Trina?
Awesome.
So it's
Trina,
That's our future.
You start them really young, because HTML is very simple, that they can do something in just a few minutes and have it appear on the screen, and, they'll success very quickly.
There could be like coding camp in the summer, that kind of thing.
Trina, if you'd have Kelly contact Brooke and just give her a little more detail as to how that went, please. And then if the full board would like to know more about that, maybe she could provide just a little recap as to where we're heading with all that. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I do remember. And I
We
didn't
just
have it
bought you a
written
little
down,
time.
but when I looked at Trina, I saw John sitting there, and my question was for John. How's the schedule looking for getting your new equipment in place over Christmas? I was hoping you were gonna get a chance to practice before you practiced on the students, so.
That's a nice way to put it.
So February, March, we can come for lunch maybe and.
You can
expect
always come
something
for
great.
lunch, and the lunch is wonderful.
I know,
So is the
I've had it
breakfast.
here before, so.
Oh. Awesome. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Meeting's adjourned at 8:15. Thank you, everyone.
Yours to Bethany?
Didn't do anything with it.
I think she put her name on the top. Don't sign anything. I think we just sign it right at your name at the top.
So,
I don't need to do any of this. Just to look at.
I had a list of questions.
It's just that, you know, it's the minutes, yours, yeah, these were the minutes from the closed session.
It's not about insurance.
Yeah.
It's on the financial stuff. I'm gonna check on the
let's get rolling, 'cause if we
Actually, Bethany.
summer, we gotta make. I will take it out.
Oh, you don't need, yep. I don't need to sign any. Okay.
Try and take them back in shape.
I was wondering if
Getting my swag.
we should get some students on this. Okay, so what
Get out of the-
because there are pieces of this. First of all, you know, we're gonna just get it organized, and then we just need to decide how big a space do we have.
3:30.
Will it fit? You know, so we'll get a landscape architect involved, and we can get the one that works on the park.
I saw him. He was like, I'm gonna take photos. He'll send them to you. Give me some mailbox. Like, I have a mailbox. So I'm like,
But then we just decide, okay, what do we want? What types of equipment? Where's